back. So for today I'm going to be showing you my top TV show and movie recommendations. I picked them all from Netflix, Hulu, and Prime Video or Amazon Prime because I feel like most people had those. Yeah, there's like 65 plus if you count like sequels.
I feel like right now would be a good time to mention that I'm not including the Hulu and Prime Video recommendations in this video. I just finished editing all of the Netflix ones and it's like 17 minutes long, and I still have like 20 minutes of footage for the Hulu and Prime Video ones, and I don't think anyone wants to sit through a 40-minute video. So I'm going to split it up into 2 parts. Just thought I should put that in right now so you're not confused. But that is all. Back to regular programming. Watch the whole video. Subscribe. I love you forever. Okay, bye.
But yeah, there's a lot, and I'm going to try and explain all of them. So I'm going to stop talking and let's just get started. Alright, starting off with Netflix, this is my biggest category because I feel like 1, most people have Netflix over the other 2, and 2, they just really have a lot of good stuff on here. So starting off with Netflix movies, I kind of tried to break them down into genre, but like we'll see what happens. The first 2 I'm going to mention are movies that are like there's a bunch of couples or like a bunch of people and then they all end up knowing each other in the end. I really love those movies. I don't know about you, but Netflix has a couple of good ones that I feel like most people haven't seen or forgot about. The first one is He's Just Not That Into You. This has a bunch of people in it. It has like Bradley Cooper, Scarlett Johansson, Ben Affleck, and Jennifer Aniston, I'm pretty sure. I should probably know that. I'm talking about it. Basically, it's about all these couples, but I feel like it mainly focuses on this one girl, and she can't find love, and she's just meeting all these bad guys, and then she ends up going to a bar one night and meets owner of the bar, and they end up becoming really close, and she falls in love with him and all this stuff. It has a happy ending, of course, but it's really good. The next one is Valentine's Day. I'm sure everyone has seen this, but I feel like this one's really good because literally the entire cast is like really popular people. It's the one with Taylor Swift and Taylor Lautner, like with the teddy bear. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but that's this movie, and it's basically all these couples and how they're spending Valentine's Day and a bunch of drama, and it's really entertaining. So the next one is Ghosts of Girlfriends Past with Matthew McConaughey, but it basically kind of follows the storyline of like the Christmas movie with Scrooge. So Matthew McConaughey is like this player guy who doesn't treat girls right and all this stuff, doesn't settle down, and he's visited by 3 of his ex-girlfriends. But yeah, it's pretty funny. If you like Matthew McConaughey, I'm sure you would like this one too. Moving on to Just Friends. This is with Ryan Reynolds, and I don't know the girl's name. She's one of those actors or actresses that you have seen and you recognize, but you just don't know her name. There's a couple of those in here. Ryan Reynolds like used to be this really fat kid when he was younger, and he was best friends with this girl, and he was in love with her like all throughout high school, but she was like, oh, we're just friends. And then he like loses all the weight and becomes like Ryan Reynolds, and then moves back to town, and like they fall in love and all that jazz. Next is Bounty Hunter. This one is so funny. It has Jennifer Aniston and Gerard Butler. I hope I'm saying his name right. But basically, Gerard Butler is a bounty hunter, and from my understanding, a bounty hunter is someone who goes after people who like owe money to the government or the IRS or something, maybe. I'm not sure. Gerard Butler is after Jennifer Aniston, who is his ex-wife, and it just shows like him chasing her and like all of this stuff, and then if you could guess, they do fall back in love, but it's really good and it's really funny. Next is Hitch. This is with Will Smith. Basically, Will Smith is this matchmaker, but it's all about the Paul Blart guy. I don't know his name, but the mall cop guy, he's also in it. He hires Will Smith to get this girl, and basically she's like a really pretty rich girl, and he ends up falling in love with her. And at the same time, like Will Smith falls in love, and it's cute, it's funny. I really like it. So moving more into like comedies, the first one I'm gonna talk about is Dinner for Schmucks. This one is with Steve Carell. It is so funny. It's basically about this guy who gets a promotion at his job, and in order to be like accepted by like the higher up people, he's invited to a dinner, and he has to bring like a really weird person, and basically whoever brings the weirdest person like wins or something. I don't really know, is accepted. But basically Steve Carell is this like weirdo who like finds like dead mice and stuffs them, and he like dresses them up and puts them in pictures. It sounds really, really weird, but if you've watched anything Steve Carell, then I'm sure you will like it. It's really funny. So the next one is, I just have to mention The Hangover. They only have the first one on Netflix, but it's still like such a classic. If you have no clue what to watch, you're super bored, The Hangover is always a good option. So I'm just throwing that out there. I feel like it doesn't really need any explanation. The next one is Julie and Julia. I feel like no one has seen this movie. It's kind of a comedy, but like kind of not. I don't even know like what genre it goes under, but it's with Amy Adams and Meryl Streep, and it's basically about Julia Childs, who is like the most famous European chef ever. But she created this like really big French cookbook, so it's all about Amy Adams, who started a blog and is recreating every single recipe. And at the same time, it flashes back to Julia Childs like starting out her cooking career in France. But yeah, it's really good. If you like anything cooking, like cooking shows, you will really like this one. So moving on to more like action-y movies. The first one I have is Hancock. This one's with Will Smith also, and he is basically like this, not menace of society, but he's like this drunk homeless person, but he also is like a superhero. Like he has all these superpowers, but he's very careless with them. Like he'll save people, but he like doesn't really care what he destroys in the process. So that's why nobody really likes him. But he ends up saving Jason Bateman, who is my favorite actor of all time. Anyways, he saves him, and then Jason Bateman wants to like show society how he's actually a good guy and like wants to help fix him and all this stuff. It's really good. If you like anything like superhero-y, action-y, you'll like this one. So next is Molly's Game. I actually just recently watched this. This is kind of like a gambling casino type movie. It's about this girl who starts like almost like an underground gambling situation, and she gets like really rich off of it, but she's doing it all legally. And so she basically rents out like this nice hotel room every like once a week or something, and has these really wealthy people come and play. But anyways, at the beginning of the movie, she was arrested for this. So throughout the movie, she's trying to get a lawyer to help prove her case, and it like tells like her background story of all of this happening. But yeah, it's really good. Another casino type one is 21. This one is like kind of an old movie, and I actually watched it in my statistics class in high school for some reason. But this is about a, I think, Harvard student or MIT student is trying to get into grad school, but he doesn't have any money, and so he ends up joining this group of students and this teacher who count cards in Vegas and like get really, really rich off of it. So if you like those types of movies, I think you'd definitely like those two. The next two are Selfless and Limitless. These ones always get me confused, but Selfless is another Ryan Reynolds movie, and basically it starts out with this old guy who's approached by this company that can put like his soul and brain and like memories and everything in a different body so that he can be young again, and like he can just keep doing that, so basically like he never dies. So he does that, and he transforms into Ryan Reynolds, and then a bunch of like complications start happening, and then people are after him or something like that. It's really good though. I think it's a really cool concept. Limitless is with Bradley Cooper, and he is like struggling with work and all of this stuff, and he finds these clear pills that make him super alert and basically makes him use like a higher percentage of his brain power. I don't know if it's 100%. Basically, he keeps taking them and becomes like addicted, and then people are after him, and he's like trying to find more because then he'll die or something like that. Again, it's super good. So the next two are movies that you definitely have to think. If you want to exercise your brain a little bit, I would recommend watching these. I've watched them several times and I'm still a little confused. But the first one is Inception, which I feel like everyone has seen. Leonardo DiCaprio is in it. I don't even really know how to describe it, but I'm sure you've either seen it or heard of it and know what it's about. The second one is The Matrix with Yanni Reeves, and that one is also good. I had to watch that for a psych class in high school. I don't know why I had to watch all these movies for high school, but if you want to think a little bit, you definitely gotta be paying attention. You might need to watch both of them a second time, but they're worth it. The next one I'm gonna be mentioning is a whole series, and that is Indiana Jones. If you have not seen Indiana Jones, it is like the best series ever. They have all of the movies on Netflix. If you don't know what it is, it's with Harrison Ford, and basically he's a professor slash like archaeologist who goes on these crazy adventures and like finds all of these biblical artifacts that nobody thought were like actually real, and they're all super good. Number two is questionable. If you're only gonna watch a few, I wouldn't watch number two. Kind of weird. Nonetheless, they're all really good. So now I'm moving into like scary or thriller type movies. It's really hard to find good scary movies, which is why I wanted to include some, because Netflix has a lot of them and a lot of bad ones, but they do have a few good ones. The first one I'm gonna talk about is kind of new to Netflix. It's called The Platform. It's about this prison that has 2 cellmates on each floor. The whole like mystery behind the show or the movie is that you don't know how deep or how many levels are in this prison. And so how it works is there is a platform of food that starts at level 1, and this is the only food for all of the prisoners, and so it stays at each level for like 30 seconds or a minute or something, and that's all they get to eat for that day. Supposedly, if everyone rationed their food correctly, it would reach the bottom, but if you've seen the movie, I don't think there's enough food on that to feed that how many people are actually in it. But it follows this one guy. It's focused on him and like his journey in there, and you see him at like high levels and low levels and like what people act like when they're at their low levels, which is like kind of creepy. It's really good. It's really interesting. I would say the only like gross part is the people like eating the food. They make it like graphic and they're like spitting on the food and stepping on it, and like one guy pees on it. It's weird, but it is really good. Next is a movie called Hush. This one is all right, but I think the plot of it is really good. It's basically about this girl who's deaf and lives alone in this like house in the middle of the woods. And it's about these people who are like trying to break in. And it's kind of about like her like finding out and protecting herself and like getting away from them like while being deaf and not knowing where they are in her house. Like I said, like the storyline's really good, and that's why I watched it. The next one is called The Forest. I don't know if this place is real in Japan, but it's about this girl who is going to find her twin sister in Japan, who supposedly went in this suicide forest. She was warned not to go in because it's like haunted or it does stuff to you like mentally and psychologically. And she went in to go find her sister, and that's exactly what happened. And it has a twisted ending, which is always the best endings for basically any movie, I feel like. The next one is Apollo 18. This is like a scary space movie. It's about like a mission that NASA didn't tell us about where we went to the moon. And it's basically about these astronauts that go to the moon, and they end up finding like these moon alien monster things. I don't really know how to describe them. And as you can guess, it ends poorly, which is why NASA covered it up. What scared me about this movie, because I saw this when I was like probably in the 7th grade, is that they use actual footage. So when I first watched this, I was like really scared because I thought it was all true. But it's not true, but it is really good. If you like space movies, if you like scary movies, I think you would like this one. All right, so those are all my movies. I feel like I've been talking for 10 million years. Moving on to some TV shows, I'm just gonna get this one out of the way. If you haven't seen Tiger King, you should. I feel like everyone has seen Tiger King, but if you have not, just watch it. It's like, it is interesting. It's funny, it's just weird that these people exist. The next one is Ozark. This is a TV show with Jason Bateman, my favorite. It's about like money laundering and like cleaning money. So it's about this guy, and his business partner was actually in this like money laundering business. He didn't like do what he was supposed to do or something. And so like the head mob guy, drug lord, whatever, ends up killing him and was gonna kill Jason Bateman. And Jason Bateman was like,
oh no, like I'll do it, like I can do it, don't worry.
He moves his family to the Ozarks, which are in like Minnesota or Michigan or something like that. He basically has to clean the money by putting it through a business, so when the government sees like all this money, they're not like,
oh, that's weird, how did you get all this money so quickly?
And so when it goes through a business, then it looks legitimate. I think I'm explaining that right. Totally might be explaining that wrong, but it's really interesting, and I'm pretty sure they just put out another season on Netflix, which I have not watched yet, but the first one was really good. So next is kind of like a funny one. It's called 100 Humans. Each episode is different, and they just ask a question or like one topic, and then they interview 100 people about it. They have a bunch of weird ones, like one's about the best age to be alive, what makes people attractive, are you biased? It sounds boring, but it is interesting, and it's kind of just like one you don't really need to pay that much attention to, like if you're doing homework or something or on your phone, but like you'll still understand everything that's happening. So the next one is Dead to Me. This came out, I want to say like a year or two ago. It's really good. It's with the girl that plays Daphne from like the live action Scooby-Doo from like years and years ago. If anyone ever watched that, Great movie, by the way. But anyways, it's about this woman whose husband is like hit by a car or died. Yeah, he was hit by a car, and so she starts going to this therapy group for like widows and widowers. The Daphne girl becomes like super attached and clingy to her like right away, and they end up becoming really good friends. And there's a lot of twists in it. It's really funny and it's really good. It's definitely a mystery, but it is really funny and like kind of quirky. I don't think they put out another season. I wish they would though, because the last episode I remember was a huge plot twist. Anyways, the next one is called The Sinner. This one is with Jessica Biel. I think that's her name, Justin Timberlake's wife. It's about her, and one day she is at the beach with like her son and her husband, and she just goes up to this random guy on the beach and starts stabbing him and kills him. And so the whole show is surrounding like why she did that, like what happened to her in the past, because there are like a few years that she just doesn't remember in her life. It kind of just shows you like what happened to her and like what led her up to doing that. It's honestly really addicting. Like you're just gonna want to sit there and binge the whole thing in one sitting, which is totally fine. But moving on, the next one is How to Get Away with Murder. Why are all of these sounding so dark? How to Get Away with Murder is basically that. It's about this professor and a group of students who killed her husband. He was like a bad guy though, so don't worry. Basically, the wife, the professor, helps them cover it up, and like they start working for her because she's this big lawyer. It's really cool. It's really interesting. So just two honorable mentions that I'm just gonna say, kind of like Tiger King, You and Love Is Blind. If you haven't seen them, please go watch them. They're great. And then the last one I have to put in here is The Office. This is just so good. One of the best shows of all time. If you have not watched The Office, just do yourself a favor, go put it on right now. I'm sure everyone has seen The Office. I don't need to explain The Office. It's good background noise. It's good to pay attention to. You can start on season 5, you can start on season 1. You'll basically catch up to what is happening. It's just so good. It's so good.